Hello, folks. It's your friend Bernie here, and today's Co-working Values podcast is an interview with Kofi, who is the co-founder of Urban MBA, which is a youth charity based here in London. And basically, London Co-working Assembly has adopted the Urban MBA folks, and since 2019, people in London Co-working Assembly have mainly provided space to Urban MBA and Urban MBA students and graduates to help further their projects and build their networks. And some amazing results have come, and relationships, more importantly, have come by as a result of that. And this podcast today is sponsored by Sophia Locks, which is it's an ISO company, and they do digital access and smart locks and all that kind of thing for your co-working space. And they are the co-creators, along with Technology Within and Urban MBA, of the event in London on the 27th of September around AI and jobs. And that event is also going to be streamed live on LinkedIn. And thank you to Technology Within for that. And the thing I want you to pay attention to in this podcast is everybody's talking about AI. And I'm always tempted to call it not another AI event, but AI is everywhere, and how AI actually impacts and plays a part in how you run your local independent co-working space could still be a mystery. And we start to unpick that here. And this is what the main thing is with Kofi in this conversation, and the main point of the event that we'll be doing online and in person is how AI and the jobs it either takes away or gives to people in the next few years, and even right now, is huge, and how people use neighborhood spaces, co-working spaces, flexible office space, whatever you want to identify at, is a massive shift. It is a shift as big as the internet and Wi-Fi and mobile technology and all those kind of things. So it's not, I wonder if this is going to happen. This has already happened, and we all need to help each other make the best of it. I hope you enjoy this episode, and thanks for your time. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to a event special for the Co-working Values podcast. And in my luxury internet studio today is Kofi. So Kofi, for the three people that don't know who you are, what are you known for, and what would you like to be known for?
Hi, my name is Kofi Opong, and I am the founder of Urban MBA. What I'd be like to be known for is really, I suppose, being known as a futurist, or maybe a Renaissance man is what I've been called sometimes. And the reason is because when I was developing as a young person, I had a bit of a challenging background, but I ended up working for one of the largest sports and fitness company in the world. And at that particular time, what I didn't realize was that the stuff that made me very famous within that company and within the retail company that I also worked for was that I used to be always looking at technologies and the way they go forward. So I'm known, and what I say about Renaissance Man, as being a sneaker person, because I have nearly 200 pairs of sneakers. But the thing that got me into that was all the technology advancements in sneakers in the late 80s and 90s, starting with my favorite shoe, the Air Max 87. So that's now led me on to where I am now, and us discussing about AI and what we're going to be doing for the event. But really, it started off with that whole thing around technology and sneakers ages ago. And it sort of led me to my path of where I am now. So I hope that gives a better explanation of who I am and what we're going to be doing.
That's a few things to pick up on there. My son got us to buy, like three years ago, got us to buy a pair of Air Jordans, which we thought, oh yeah, that's a new pair of trainers. He's kept them in the box so he can have an investment like Kofi. So thanks for that, buddy. Also, along, with me and Janine and Jax and, all the other folks, is you are the person, you'll turn up at a call about something and mention something like AI, and then suddenly it's all happening. And the one thing, there's so many times since we met in 2019 and you got involved in the London Co-working Assembly that through Urban MBA, you've said something and we're like, what's that? I don't know. I saw that in a Marvel movie, and then suddenly it's happening. So the phrase I'd like people to start to pick up with is it 5 transformative technologies?
We have 9. We believe
9.
there is going to be
God,
there are 9 transformative
already.
technologies that are going to shape our future.
So bang through them, because some of those people will be using and doing stuff with already, and some of them just, if you start paying attention now, you'll probably be better off in a few more years. So what
Okay,
they all?
so maybe the best thing to start off with when we are looking at that is maybe just understanding that all of these things are working together. So the difference between this period now and say the 1800s, when we talked about the Luddite era, where they were in opposition of technology and new machinery coming in, is that this era that we're currently in is multiple technologies. And whenever there's been situations of multiple technologies changing, that's when wealth and everything else changes with it. So there is a movie called The Men That Built America, which talks a lot about the people that we know, or maybe the last generation of what we call entrepreneurial rock stars. And that's the JP Morgans of the world, etc. Now, the whole reason why America became as powerful as what it is because at that time they were transitioning and America was developing in their industrial revolution. And they were moving from ships to trains, and oil came in. And we are now in this era. It's very similar to that particular period. And when we talk about 9 transformative technologies, these technologies are so radical that ultimately they will have a big say in not just our thinking now, which we're talking about AI and jobs, but actually what humanity becomes in the future. And that sounds like a huge statement, but I kid you not. It in about 2 or 3 years' time, as in the past when we've talked to you and then things have happened, that's we're going to be looking at as this era maybe defined humanity in terms of what we do. So going back to the question, and it's a long-winded way of explaining to you, these 9 transformative technologies and the things that excite me the most about them, or which ones I like the most, are blockchain. We already know that blockchain is all about money, etc. And the way that we view and perceive money is going to change quite a bit, as we're starting to see already in the BRICS countries, Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, that they're starting to trade in different currencies, in particular crypto. The metaverse is one of them. Space is now a viable alternative and must be considered as a commercial opportunity. Data has been worth more than oil for the last 2 or 3 years. Data, analytically understood, means you will be able to make money. And data is a big thing that all big companies are selling to each other and doing lots of things with it. The one technology that people might not have heard of is CRISPR, which is a gene editing tool. So what's happening now, and I believe in the future, what we're going to be seeing is that we're going to be having children of different races with different colored eyes, etc. What they can do with this gene editing technology is so scary. But on the plus side of things are got right in that area of what I'm talking about. What could happen is that all these diseases that we are known or big problems for us could be wiped out before we're even born. That's the powerful area that CRISPR could do. So for the Black community where I'm from, as an example, sickle cell is a real bad thing for us in terms of it affects only the Black community, etc. But if that could be genetically resolved before you're born, and that's what I'm talking about. We've got autonomous cars, which have already been added now, flying cars coming from, because 2 weeks ago, in America, they approved the testing of flying cars. So it's not just autonomous cars, but flying cars. And autonomous cars are going to, in particular, help the older generations become more mobile again. And then we've got 3D printing, artificial intelligence, which is all the rage, and then quantum computers, which is my favorite of all these technologies, because what that promises to bring, some people couldn't even comprehend where that could take us at this precise moment. And quantum is on the horizon big time. And if you looked at it, 2.5 billion has been put aside by the UK government in Old Street to become the quantum and supercomputer area. Now, that's because quantum, of all the technologies, has the ability to break or take us to things that we've never, ever understood, such as black holes in space and what happens. Are there multiple parallel universes? So all of these things are the types of stuff that we talk about, and I've been talking to you about for 3 or 4 years, and it seems very, very crazy, but it no longer is.
It doesn't seem crazy anymore.
No.
And I used to watch YouTube videos of cats, and now I watch YouTube videos of quantum computers. One of the things is, and just before we were podcasting, the events, Laurie from Technology Within posted the online version, because we're going to do this event online and live stream it via LinkedIn and also in person by Tower Bridge in St. Catherine's Dock at Lenta Space. And most of the people that have commented on it is some version of, are the robots going to take our jobs? So from your point of view, Kofi, what does this mean? And that is the point of the event. What does this mean for jobs going forward in the future in a sort of, not a specific co-working question, but in general in society, what will happen?
Well, we're already seeing lots of different areas or different sectors that the government is testing, or the globe are testing things that should alert you in your mind that something else is going on. So one, in this country right now, they're doing a universal basic income where they're testing out giving people monthly amounts of money. So that's happening under the radar. We already know that that's happened where Finland and some of the other countries in Europe have already tested the universal basic income. We're looking at 3 or 4 day work weeks. Why does that keep coming up? Everybody thinks it's about our life and our freedom. But actually, if we're going forward and we're looking at will AI take our jobs, is it because we're just going to have more time on our hands? At the least, Bernie, and one thing I'll say to you is that if you don't even say, or you don't agree with the fact that maybe AI will take our jobs, at the very least, we are going to need a massive upskilling scenario. And so what we're talking about is my family members, my mother, first generation Ghanaian African, has been a cleaner all her life. There are cleaning robots now, and we've just got into a new co-working space, which I'll talk about. But what I want to do is populate it with automated cleaners. How do you upskill somebody with that only one knowledge or information-wise from where she's come from to all of a sudden start upskilling at her age when she's only known one thing? So this subject cannot be taken lightly. And why people need to attend is because you need to start thinking about what your life looks like as this process starts happening. And also, how do you upskill to be able to interact with these technologies that are coming?
There was I'm thinking about this a lot at the moment, but there are 4 different families that we know where we've had their children are at kind of A-level university age, and it's come up like, so what are you going to do? How are you going to do it? And one of those kids knows about ChatGTP. Is it? I always get it wrong. Yeah. I always try to say it right and get it wrong. That one. And then 2 teacher friends of mine, I said, do you know what ChatGPT is? And then I'm Google Bird, and then no, what's that? And I said, it's this. And I said, that's nothing, that doesn't count. One of them actually said, that doesn't count because you need to prove you've done the research to do it. And I just left it there because I would have ended up in a tit for tat argument. But for people, 3 of those children want to work in industries where, AI will enhance their ability. And I would question why those people are going to university in the world that's unfolded. I loved university. I've got loads out of it, but I just think loads of people are sleepwalking into university because they don't really know what else to do. Does that make sense?
I think, Bernie, if you started me on my high horse about what you've just said, we'd probably be here for another 2 hours. So I'm going to say this now, that the space that we have is a form of now alternative education at community level, right? And I don't believe any of the systems that we have, whether it's for university or the way that schools are run now, will survive these next 5 to 10 years in the guise that they are. They need to be smaller. They need to be better. And education really needs to be free, which is what these universities are scrambling around now, working out how they deliver what they do. And so to your point of whether they go to university or not, we're already seeing a massive shift with many people now deciding the apprenticeship route is better. And on that teacher that you mentioned, this is the very interesting thing that these are not considering. So she said, well, you would have to prove you do the research. So what I would do, and we use Claude AI as well as ChatGPT. We think Claude AI is better. What I would do is I'll get Claude AI to write me this report. Then I'd get Claude AI to create that I did the research myself. Because what you can do is you teach these things what you're like in terms of what you do. She wouldn't know either way if I got it to say, well, also write me out a way where how I researched it and what I did. And I would read the bulletproof part, the bullet notes on that, and present that back to her as to how I got my research. And it still would have been Claude AI that did it for me, or ChatGPT. Am I making sense?
Yeah. Well, I lost because obviously this is our favorite topic, but that's another podcast. Is my point there was that it hadn't even entered the conversation. Like, there's like so many, and that the school that person's at is, pretty forward thinking, and it's not even on the agenda. And it's like not knowing what the internet is in 1997, educational institution. It was really, really scary. And I think we're particular fans of the whole apprenticeship thing, but the way that the value of an apprenticeship seems to be much more regarded nowadays than it was even 10 years ago. Is that me loving it, or is that the truth?
And so the truth is, Bernie, that me and you grew up in a situation of the YTS scheme, right? And the YTS, the youth training scheme, those days was designed to give a much more vocational training than what the education was. This has been an ongoing battle for over 100 years that this education system does not work, and it needs to be more vocational. And that's why more people are going towards the apprenticeship scenario. And then to answer that question that these people do not know, that is why you need to be at this event. The things that I've mentioned, everybody sees it as mad sci-fi, but if you remember watching Star Wars or any of those programs, you saw flying cars running around, and we looked at this stuff like it was maybe 100, 200 years away. Everything that we're working with now is almost 5 years old. So the models of ChatGPT and Claude AI are 5 years old that we are using now. What they have in their offices at the moment is 5 years more advanced that they're working to now. So we don't even have a clue of what that looks like in terms of where we're going. And you are 100% correct that if you don't consider, or these people are not wise enough to understand, because they're not taking that information in because they don't see it as a threat, which is exactly why you need to come to this event, because you need to understand the power of what AI will be doing in the next 5 years, and how drastically, and I mean drastically, our lives are going to change.
That little nugget there is, because I don't want to sound like I'm convincing people, but in London, which is where we're going to do this event in person, there are, I haven't got the answer for this, ladies and gentlemen, but the way people use flexible workspaces and co-working spaces and neighborhood spaces and that kind of space that we're all, is our main topic here, it will change, whether it's the times they use it, whether it's the equipment they bring in, whether it's how many people use it. There's a rush about to happen, and I think it's happening already. And some of us are so like in the middle of it, we just don't really notice it's happening. But one of the main reasons to come to this event and get involved in it is so we all have this conversation together, rather than getting run over accidentally by what's going to happen in the next few years. Is that? Do you want to add to that, Kofi?
No, and I think everything you've just said is spot on. I'm terrified for humanity, but even the people around me. And I just want to give you an example. My brother works for a fantastic organization called Evergreen. And they're in Hackney, and they run a play group for all mums to drop their kids off. Evergreen is oversubscribed because, as the government in its wisdom went along, it shut down many of these places where kids don't get a chance to play with each other, and there's nowhere for mums to make them go. So Evergreen's oversubscribed because the parents can put their kids there for the whole day and then go and pick them up at the end of the day. I showed some of the teachers there what ChatGPT could do and Claude AI. And honestly, it was like watching one of those cartoon movies where, you know, when they run out of the window because they've seen it and living an imprint in there. People just have no idea about what's going on and what to do, and they're not so and not understanding how quickly these things are going to change, which is why I keep saying the fallout for this in 3 years' time is going to be too big at that time to solve. And what historically governments or countries around the world do is they wait for the problem to hit a massive peak and then they try to find a solution. Whereas the way we're thinking, and even the way you're thinking, and why we're having this AI this AI co-working, is to get people to think ahead. We only look 1 minute in front of us, and if we don't think ahead, the consequences this time are too drastic, right? So we'll wait till mental health becomes a huge issue, and then the government will issue out £100 million to go and solve the problems with mental health. So we're backwards engineering these services, and the problem's too big at the time. This one isn't one of those that you can try and backward engineer, and the people who turn up and understand what's going on will have a better understanding of how to position themselves and even their family and their kids for the future. And I'm not underestimating what I'm saying when I say you do need to think in that way and consider what's going to happen for your family and your future, because it's round the corner, and you leaving it late like the government will mean you will lose out big time or be struggling when it all kicks off, which is over the next 24 months will be even bigger.
Yeah, I'm no expert, as people will know, but you know, the bits I follow from people in this conversation in lots of different industries that are way more up on it than me. It's not something, you know, it's not like the aliens are going to come and invade us, but you know, there's a massive revolution that's going to happen in society, and it is, people will lose out for sure and people will gain for sure, but just being aware of what is coming. I've been using different little apps and gadgets and AI things, you know, for years, and it's only this year that I've actually like dived into it properly, and already it's completely transformed the way, you know, even this podcast is made, and it is you know, don't know what the word is, groundbreaking seems a futile thing. What's going to happen on the day? Because people are going to get in there, Kofi, and then what's the give us the agenda, because it's not a chalk and talk session we're going to do here. A lot of the things we do at London Co-working Assembly are everyone talking to each other. So you come and meet people and talk and engage and, you know, swap ideas and whatever else you need to swap. So how are we going to play the 27th out?
So I think the great thing about this podcast that we're doing here is we're really getting people to really try and think about what the future looks like. I come from a sporting background, and I'm trying to keep this quick because every question I've answered, I've given you a long-winded answer. So I come from a sporting background, and I learned about goal setting because I played sport, and I always knew the pinnacle of football was when we got to the World Cup. When we are doing this event here, the idea is to critically get some critical thinking skills from everybody in that space about what they plan to do as this stuff starts coming in. So we're going to debate this through the debating society way of looking at problems and finding solutions to get people to really think about what this stuff means for co-working. And if AI is going to take a lot of our jobs, how can you better get ready for that with your co-working assembly and we through this co-working event. And we've had a couple of situations that have come out in the co-working events that has made people really think, such as now that a lot of big corporates their staff are working from co-working and having this hybrid relationship. But this next level of what we are going to be doing is for us to really think about all these things. So there's going to be two camps. We are first going to have a debate for about 15 or 20 minutes about AI, where people can ask questions. We can look at all the predictive stuff for the future. And then we're going to have a debating society where we're going to split the groups into two, and maybe the online group as well. And there's going to be for or against this motion of, will AI take our jobs? And I'm not going to give my point of view on here now. You need to come to the event to sort of find out. But it will open up a whole load of things, in particular, actually opening up most people's mind in general to the fact that this is happening and you need to be on it now.
Ace. And then that is going to be offline in Lenter Space in St. Catherine's Dock, which is by Tower Bridge in London. And we've got room for about 30 to 40 people in the room there. And then it's also going to be live streamed online. So, which we've done a couple of times, and it's getting more and more popular. So while this is a London co-working assembly event, we're really happy to share all the love online and help you connect with each other around the world. So there'll be a link in the show notes to both of those events. Is there anything else you want to add at this point, Kofi?
No, but I think I just want to maybe end with getting people to really think about what's happening, because we get one side of things that most people are like, oh, but it will never happen. Oh, and this will never. Humanity will always reestablish itself. I just want people to really understand that this is happening, and the impact on your future is too big for you to not start researching what is going on in these areas. And also the fact that the reason that most people go, oh, this is not going, is because they're scared and they're fearful of what it could bring. But if you don't help shape the narrative because you don't understand, then we're leaving it to the 5% of the world who are controlling this world to be able to manipulate what happens with our futures. And I think it is up to all of us, of the other 95%, to understand what's going on and then have a say in our future. And that's why it's really important that people turn up to this event.
Damn right, brother. So we are, so this event is a co-creation with Urban MBA, Technology Within, and Sophia Locks, which is part of a company called ISO. And I want to draw attention to, I'm going to put a link in the show notes to a podcast we did last year with John Seal, who's a managing director of Technology Within. And John started as an apprentice in Technology Within and is now managing director. And he tells a really good story. He's a massive believer in the, I'm going to say, like, the power of apprenticeships, which is really, really important in the way things are changing, in the way we've discussed here. And I think there's a better shot for informal education than ever before. Also, so this is on the 27th of September in London, and then on the 18th of October, we'll be doing our event with Salto. I can't remember the speakers, but I'll put a link in the show notes. We're doing an event with Salto, which is Community is the Key, What is the Secret? And I want you to get that song in your head there. And that is going to be at the new luxury Urban MBA Base Camp in Old Street. So can you say a little bit about that space, Kofi, your new home?
Yeah, so I sort of kept that to last, and I mentioned earlier on that we need hybrids and we need to think about the future of what we do. And the reason why I said that is because I also believe that as we go forward, we're probably going to have some situation where we'll be able to jack information into our brains a lot more. And also then the way that we teach people, as we're already seeing now with young people, their brains are working too fast for the education system as it stands because they've been rewired with social media. So this space that we have is, while it has co-working facilities, I want to add very clearly, it's not a co-working space. What this is what I see as the forward movement of hybrid education with business, because a lot of people are going to have to be. So we have a technology space that has transformative technologies and people being able to test, play with them, etc. We've got an educational smart room that all our courses are run from, and we run 6, 12 weeks and 1 year accredited business courses that serve the community. And then we have obviously co-working spaces for anybody who wants to work through business. But I think the difference between what we have here in our center is that it's more of a business space than it is of a co-working. So we want people to be immersed in what's happening with business from a marketing perspective, etc. Because we're always finding as well that a lot of the founders are social founders in local community, and many of their businesses die because they don't think about money and funding, right, which is the hardest thing to do. So, but as I said, I think that as we go forward, what we see as traditional education with these big schools with 1,000 kids in it, etc., cannot operate in the future. And we need to think about what that looks like. And I think this is maybe the hybrid of that in terms of our space. So looking forward to be able to share in that concept with everybody and seeing how it works out over the next 18 to 24 months.
That's great. That's given me a chance to remember who is on the panel. So that's going to be, that session is about, it's like part 2 of what we did about community earlier. So everyone talks about community, but no one knows, or very few people actually know how to do community. And the more we talk about that together, the better. So Joyce, who runs the Affordable Workplace Scheme at Islington Council, is going to chair that again. And then we got Steve from Faceworks, which runs Peckham Levels, which is probably what most of you are familiar with. Catherine, who is the community manager at Colour in Tech, which is an organization that just deals with, on a very high level and brilliant the way they act, about the role of inclusion and diversity in the technology industry. And then Emile, she was the community manager at Platform 9 in Brighton, and now she's running Juicy UK in London, which is, I think it's the beginning of November. But she is like red hot on the, Emily is red hot on how co-working is like a very privileged thing, but also the importance of, creating inclusive spaces. And, she really understands how that whole thing plays out. So it's great to have her here. And then we'll be doing something for Global Entrepreneurship Week in February and also in December. So if you go for this event, if you go to London Co-working Assembly and sign up for the email list on the front of the London Co-working Assembly site, you'll be able to book your seat to all of those. Thanks very much for your time today, Kofi. I can't wait to be in London on the 27th and see the Urban MBA HQ. And, cheers for helping me see the future. Where can we find you online, Kofi? Where's the best place to track you down and interact with you?
Through all the Urban MBA. So there's an Urban MBA LinkedIn or my personal profile. We're on X, as I'm supposed to call it now, which is Urban MBA _. And we are on Instagram, which is Urban _MBA. Yes, please show appreciation and likes, etc. For all the things that we do. We've had over 500 students, and it'd be great if we could get a bit more traction to put more students from marginalized communities through and help them to change their lives.
It is. And it's worth saying there's so many people in the London Co-working Assembly community that have helped, very unprompted, have just done amazing things to help Urban MBA. From most of it is, I'm not going to go through all the people that have helped because we'll be here forever, but most people lending space to Urban MBA projects and students to help them develop has had a ginormous effect. So that is one of the best examples I've ever seen of the power of community at play in London. I'm going to leave now. Okay. Have a great day. Be careful out there. It is a jungle. And thanks for listening today.